Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Executive Pill, the podcast where brilliant leaders from every corner of the world share their secrets to help you lead smarter, influence better, and succeed faster. Think of it as your cheat code to navigating leadership with clarity and confidence. I'm your host, Alex D. Tremble, CEO of GPS Leadership Solutions. And over the past decade, I've had the privilege of helping executives at Fortune 500, small to mid-size organizations, and government organizations navigate leadership, influence, and culture. This podcast is your shortcut to learning what works from the best of the best. And I promise you this, what you're about to hear today isn't theory. It's proven strategies you can use today. And before we jump in, here's a tiny request with a massive impact. Please do us a favor and hit that like button. I can't tell you just how much your your engagement at this level, which literally costs you nothing, truly does help spread this content around the world and allows us to help more and more people. So if you appreciate the guests that we have coming on, if you appreciate and you like the content we're bringing to you, we wholeheartedly would have greatly appreciate if you do us a favor, click that like, and if you haven't done so already, go on and subscribe. Now let's make today extraordinary together. Today we have with us the amazing Mr. Brian Campbell. Brian serves as a vice president at Truist Bank and is a transformational speaker and purpose-driven leader who believes in the power of clarity, confidence, and commitment. With over 2 decades of experience in the banking industry, he has built an extraordinary career rooted in loyalty, consistency, and exceptional performance. However, his impact extends far beyond the banking and finance sector. And so I am just so excited to have him on today. So without any further ado, how are you doing, my friend?
Man, I'm doing well. How you doing, Alex? Let's go, baby.
Man, I was just telling you, dude, like
You gonna
you bring
start
this
out like
energy.
that? We're
You
gonna
bring
start
this
it
energy,
that way,
dude.
Alex. Stay
Dude,
strong, stay positive, stay moving. Let's go, Alex. I'm ready for you, man.
man, he over here quoting me, making me blush, dude.
Yes,
So I I'll kick us off with a softball question because you know I got some stuff lined up for you today.
yes,
What do we need to know about your past to understand how you see the world?
man. That's a good question, Alex. To know me, to know Brian Campbell, you have to know where I come from. I come from a single, only child background. In the first graduate. That's the big piece right there. You need to understand to know who I am. Only child, first generation to have gone to college, and I broke the mold. I broke the mold from parents who sacrificed a lot so that I could have opportunities, but also that shaped me, right? Being the only child, that comes with a certain mindset, the mindset of, hey, I got to make sure, yeah, I got this weight on my shoulders, but I got to make sure that I'm not the last one. And so
Mm,
I have showed myself, I showed my family, I've showed other people that, when you put your mind to something such as being successful, making something of yourself, that you can do it. But to take that a step further, being an only child, and I have children myself, I have a 14-year-old son, 7-year-old daughter, I have a wife, is I don't want to be the last, Alex, right? I'm
mm,
pouring back into them. I'm
mhm,
pouring into the people that are around me. And so I am that leader that has spent multiple years in the financial sector. I've only known finance. I've helped numerous people, almost more than 1,600, understand what financial awareness looks like. I've helped these individuals to make that leap from not owning to owning a home, or to building a home, or to put them in a better financial position. And I've had that luxury since college. So that's another part that you would have to know about me, is I've only worked from one company up to this
mm.
day. From 2002 to where we are now in 2025, I've had a lot of information downloaded. And so now I'm at that place in my life where now I'm uploading. I'm wanting to give that information out to other people. but it definitely has shaped my mind to understand that, yes, I might have been the first, but I don't want to be the last. And I want the people around me as well as myself to live fully, right? We want to give homage. We want to, give thanks to the people that have paved the way for me. Again, those family members like my mother and my father. But to go again further is the leadership, which I know the executive appeal is about, is now pouring back into other people. And that's when you get to that stage in your life where I'm in, that's when you can have a lot of impact, because it's not just about you, it's about trying to help other people.
Dude, I appreciate it. I'm telling you, there couldn't have been a better setup for the question I want to ask you. Because I'm a bit annoyed. I'm annoyed. I'm frustrated. I went to brunch with one of my colleagues, one of my friends, and we got into this very heated conversation about some things that we've seen across the country. And if you all follow me on LinkedIn, you'll see a post about this fairly soon. You talked about you didn't want to be the only one. You want to be the last one. And I'm with you. I literally, there's two things I always say. One is don't look back, reach back, bring someone with you. And two, I may be the first in my family, but I won't be the last. And every time I wear that shirt, people love it. But I feel like that is a mindset or perspective that either many people don't have, or they forget. And what I'm saying is, I look around at companies and these organizations who have people who've been blessed to move it into, as you, vice president, senior vice president, chiefs, and crazy positions, right? And they want to be there until they die, right? Or until they can't be there anymore, versus intentionally positioning that next group to step in there, like just moving off to the side and letting someone else make the decision. Because the reality is even if you report to the VP or if you report to the chief, until you're in that seat, it's different. You don't know. And so what do you say? Like, what do you say to those individuals who are in those very senior level roles, but aren't thinking about intentionally stepping aside to allow someone else the opportunity to make those mistakes, to make those decisions and grow and learn?
You know what? Let's go deeper, right? You said it in the beginning. It starts from within, right? That person who we might be talking about, I used to be that person. I was that top performer, that person that somewhat from a corporate standpoint looked out for self. If I did good or the people immediately around me, they did good, then that's all I cared about. I want to get mine. I want to move up. But what I found when you start researching really top quality executives, top successful people in certain industries, you'll find out that they didn't do it alone. That's number one. Number two is you'll find out that along the way, those top tier people that are in those leadership positions, they got to a stage where they knew it was important to give back, such as mentorship, right? Now, I'm a big proponent on that today, where I may not have been that way 10 years ago when I was in my career, because it was all about self. But when I started understanding, like, hey, with leadership, it is about bringing other people along, and actually, whether it be coaching or mentoring those, and I would say in this case, young people, because I have an affinity for helping out young people. But as I have seen in corporate America, man, it starts right here. And there's a ceiling, Alex, that I think that most people will hit when you only think about yourself, or you just think about your immediate group. But if you can think that leadership is more than about just thinking about yourself, but bringing those along, you can have actually more impact for those leaders that are listening, that hear these words. You can have even more impact if you pour into other people and you help them along their journey. It's going to do something for you as well. And that does something for you on the inside, which then people will see that on the outside. And it starts to well-round an individual as a leader when you think like that.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Um, and and I am blessed in that the work we do at GPS and the work I do specifically, I work with VPs, SVPs, chiefs, specifically those top level executives to help them reach their goals, help them make sure their teams are as effective as possible. Um, and the weird thing about it, and maybe this is, oh, I got a cool thing, but maybe this is because of the people who we attract to GPS that I haven't come across this. But I think it's very easy to look across the political environment,
Mm-hmm.
across big organizations. And again, I won't call nobody else out only because you're here. I don't want to put you into this. And I'll do an episode by myself, and I'm saying names. But there are people who should have stepped aside. There are
Oh.
people who, because they didn't step aside, things didn't go the way that people thought they were going to go. And this is politics. This is organizations. This is across the playing field. And I know what it is. It's that feeling of power. It's that feeling of I'm in charge. I can meet with the CEO of blank. Target had to meet with an organization because they were trying to get themselves out of some hot water. And I was like, oh, this is great. And then I saw who they were meeting with. I'm like, why? Why is this not someone else? Like, you gotta build the bench. And I guess I'm ranting for a second. I am. But my question for you is, for those individuals who are maybe listening right now and they weren't thinking about the next generation. Next generation doesn't mean super young either. It means like this, the next level down. This is literally called succession planning. Okay, we can call it a different thing. If they're not thinking about that because they like the power. Really quickly, I interviewed on this podcast what the chief human capital officer for, I think it was one of Coke Industries large organizations, and him and I talked about it on that episode. And he was like, Alex, it's hard. I was somebody. When I called, people picked up. When I needed something to happen, people made it happen. I can get on the phone with almost anyone. I was traveling the world. When I left that role, that was gone, and it was hard. It was. So what do you say to those people who they like that power, they like that influence, and it's hard to give up?
Yeah, we might talk about this later, Alex, but there's something called growth. Okay. And we all need to grow in certain elements of who we are as a person and as a leader. And when you start talking about succession planning, you start talking about somebody moving over to give an opportunity for somebody else, whoever that person is. Sometimes it's you having some growth from within, because it takes growth for somebody to let go of something that you feel like you're entitled to, that you feel like it should be your way, but you can be sometimes closed-minded, and you can't see as my dad would say, the woods for the forest, because you only have one perspective. So I think one way that we can talk about this is from a perspective of having different perspectives in the room. And a lot of times there'll be somebody that may not be as experienced as you in a role, but they have a different perspective that actually could help out the organization, the company, whatever your strategy or initiative is in your organization. If you would take some notes from, let's say, the foot soldiers, from the people that are on the front lines, or somebody that has not been in a leadership position for a very long time, you get a different way of handling sometimes different challenges or the same challenges, because they have a different perspective. But I think that has to come from within, as we talked about earlier, because that power sometimes is not easily given up. But I think growth is a part of what needs to happen with certain leaders. And again, I would be that prime example of a leader that had to go through growth. And sometimes you have to be pushed sometimes to grow. Sometimes it can be dynamics that are outside of your control, such as, I'll give an example like COVID. Okay. COVID put me in a position to where I was win, win, win as a solo type of businessman. And in my industry, things changed right after COVID. And I had to let go of something that I felt like was all mine, a certain territory, a
Mm,
certain business world in a different part of the state where I was doing business. And through COVID and the changing of my industry, it pushed me to grow. It pushed me to start something new. And it pushed me into a leadership position where I am now to now give back to other people. And I can think back, well, if it wasn't for that event like COVID, would I have stepped out of who I was as a person and only thinking about self to then pour into other people, to take that leap, to now lead other people? Well, I had to grow as an individual. I had to let go of something I thought was all mine. Now I got something even better.
I had a place I wanted to go, um, but you keep saying stuff, which is the point of the podcast, right?
That's right. We
Um,
want to help people out, right?
so
Yeah.
you talked about how COVID rocked your world, and
Yes.
this is something I've been thinking a lot about recently, and I talk about this a lot. Not sure how much I've done it on the podcast, but for those who don't know, I grew up in California. My biological father left me when I was a couple days old. Um, and every few years he'd check in, he'd get on the phone and be like, "Hey, Alex, how you doing?" I remember it like I remember back in the day he called because he was in the military, so he was in like different countries and whatnot. He'd call him like, "Hey, how you doing? Da, da, da. If you ever want to talk to me, just let me know if you need anything." And I write him letters, and he'd never write back. And then I remember a time where he called and was like, "Hey, if you ever want anything, just let me know." And I was like, "Okay, great. I want a Sega," and never got a Sega. And like this happened throughout my life. He'd be gone and he'd come back and he'd make promises and then leave. And I'll say even up to so I'm sure I'm 30, 39-ish. I'm 39 right now. I would say even up till about a couple years ago, I almost just wrote him off. I'm like, dude, just stop coming in my life. And he was like, no, 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 I want to do better. I want to do different. And he said, how about you come over and have dinner with me and my wife? And I was like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, yeah, sure. Okay, I love to meet the family. Never picked up the phone again, right? And so, like, this guy has consistently done this, and I make tell the story for a point. Um, if if he wouldn't have been that person, I wouldn't be the person I am today. Most of my life, for better or worse, I spent doing my absolute best, working my absolute hardest, just so I could hopefully gain his approval and make him want to know me.
Mm-hmm.
But that all, and yes, it sucks, absolutely. But it also resulted in me going to college on a football scholarship. Also resulted in me meeting my wife because if I would have been with him, I would have been around the world. Would have met my wife. Wouldn't have my son today. Wouldn't probably be in the profession I'm doing right now with executives. Like so much good came from that hurt. And every time I look back at my life and I see the pieces in the spots in my life that are hurtful, that are hard, that are dark, that are cold, that are
Mm-hmm.
frustrating,
There
I
you
can
go.
always look and tie it back to me becoming stronger and being better because of it. And I think to your point, like people need to do that more and stop being now again, people don't try to cancel me for this one. Don't be a woe is me, but like it's
Yeah.
like, oh God, that's me, right? Like I've overcome these things, I can do it again versus saying, oh my God, I always have bad luck. This always happens to me. And so what, right? It did. It happened. What are you going to do about it? You're going to cry. You're going to figure it out. Sorry. Again, now I'm preaching. But kind sir, well, you made me think about that as you talked about your COVID experience.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. You could look at that situation and say year after year, day after day, and dwell on that, right? And that will take your energy away. It will take it away. It will take your energy away from all the good, right? And we may talk about this later on, but through my 20 plus years working in corporate America, working in the financial world, I started figuring out, as I look back at my successes, I looked back and tried to find some commonality. And I came up with what I call the banker's blueprint, which you'll see behind me. And it's these 6 pillars. And these 6 pillars are something that, as I started creating them, they started out with gratitude, with discipline and failure, people, self-care, and vision. All those things I started wrapping into, okay, all of these speak to how I got to where I am. But along the way, there has been some failure. That's part of the process. I wouldn't be here today if I didn't go through all of the trials and tribulations. And we ain't got enough time, Alex, to go through everything. But yes, I repeated a grade when I was in high school, right? My dad wasn't there all the time, okay? All of these are different elements. Again, only child. Yes, I had my opportunity when I first came out of college, but I had to work for that. Didn't nobody lay that out for me? But there have been good decisions and bad decisions along the way. But if we constantly turn around and take that baggage and bring it forward, Alex, we would miss all types of opportunities. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't we? We wouldn't be able to see all the good that is out there in the world. And a lot of it, as you just said earlier, it molded you. Just like it molded me, being the only child, being the first generation. It molded me to know what was at stake. And I wanted better, just like you wanted better. But what I will say to what you had mentioned, Alex, before we move on, don't stop trying with him. Don't stop trying. Don't close that door, because you never know when that could come back later and have a blessing. And it may not be for you, Alex. It may be for that child that you mentioned earlier. People can change. I'm a big proponent on that as well. Sometimes it takes some longer than others to change. And I've seen that in my life and how I've helped people at various stages in their life to get to where they want it in their wealth journey, home ownership, etc. People can change. They can.
You know, to that point, my son's name is Oka Alexander Lying Tremble. So Oka is his first name. Oka is Burmese name. It means it's like a meteor flying high into the sky. So what it meant for him was that it was given to him because when he was born and everything like that, that just like a meteor flying in the sky, high in the sky, he's going to go very high and be very successful in life, and he's going to brighten the way without him, around him, for everyone around him. So that's Oka. Tremble is my last name. Line is my wife's grandmother's name, so he took on that as one of his middle names. And then Alexander is his other middle name. I am Alex. My biological father's name is Alex. My brother's name is Alex. My sister's name is Alexis. My grandfather's name is Alexander. When he was born, I always planned on naming my boy after me and was going to give him the name Alex, but I'm being real with you right now. Yeah. When he was born, I was like, no, he's not being connected to that guy because he hasn't been here. He doesn't care about me. Shown he doesn't care about me. So that's why he's named after my grandfather, Alexander. And this gets to this other point, not saying we should harbor things. But I do think that it's important for us to be very intentional with where we allocate our time and attention. And the reality is we only have so much time. I love this book called 4,000 Weeks. And I'll bust somebody's bubble right now. The name of the book is 4,000 Weeks because on average, we have 4,000 weeks to live. And the author talks about just how small our life is. And not that you shouldn't do anything. Not, you didn't say that you shouldn't. If you want to scroll Facebook and it truly makes you happy, scroll Facebook, scroll Instagram. But if it doesn't, then don't do it because you only have so much time. And I've taken that to also to my relationships and the people around me. If there are people who I am willing to spend some of my 4,000 weeks around and with, and they bring value to my life and I bring value to their life, then yes, I am there for it. And if they're not one of those people, then I don't got the time for you. I mean, literally, don't got the time for you. And it's not spiteful. It's just me being very intentional with the time, energy, and focus I have.
Yeah, I believe that as well, to a certain point, right? Because again, in my banker's blueprint, one of those pillars and principles is self-care. Sometimes we have to protect our peace, as you just said. There's only but so many hours in a day, so many weeks in a year, so many weeks in our lifespan. So why would we want to and sometimes in our mind waste that doing something that we feel like is not valuable to us? Only point I'm making there is there may come a time when you're going to be called upon, or somebody that's listening to us, very similar story, you're going to be called upon and you're going to have a decision to make. And it's going to be not like the other communications. This one's going to be different. You have a choice. You can spend that time and you don't have to. But as we are working on self as a human being, how would you want to teach that self development part? If we're teaching that to other people, we also want to kind of practice those same elements of ourself, such as, again, teaching sons and daughters and how they should treat people and how they would want to be treated. But I'm still a big proponent on never closing the door on somebody, because I do know that people can change. That's the only thing I was trying to say.
No, I really like this because you're allowing me to. You're basically my therapist right now. You're allowing me to put some stuff out just talk some things out where that I don't always talk about. So not y'all listening to this, y'all getting to learn a little more about me right now. So to that point about teaching people, to be who they are. I remember the second to last time I saw him, and it was third to last time I saw him. I really still wanted to have that connection, and he blew me off again. I was like, okay. And I remember I was with my auntie and I was crying like, man, again, I'm grown. And I'm like, this still hurt. And my auntie was like, Alex, you gotta stop. He doesn't want anything to do with you, no matter what he says. I mean, he's done this for now 30 odd years, right? And so that next time I saw him, I was like, you know what? Cool. I got something for him. And he came in, him and his wife came in. They said hello, because we were going to a wedding. All of us were going to a wedding. That's the only reason why we're in the same place at the same time. And I ignored him. Wife spoke to me, ignored her. I acted so cold, and I wanted him to know just how cold I was. And my auntie's boyfriend spoke to me later on that day. He said, Alex, don't do that. That is not who you are. You are not this rude, cold individual. Yes, you can't keep going after that relationship because he doesn't want it, and you keep getting hurt. But don't let him change who you are. And that was so powerful. And the next day after the wedding, we in the same house, and I was laughing, I was joking, and made jokes with everyone, had a good time. And it was like night and day, but I felt so much better about it because, yes, I understand that relationship's not going to be there, but I also have made a decision that I am not allowing this person to have the power over me to change who I am. And this is the same thing I talk about with people in leadership positions too, right? Sometimes you have employees or you have people coming after you who are disrespectful or mean or undermining you, all those things. And you feel like the only way to deal with them is to buck up and knock them down. But I always tell people, don't let anyone change who you are. And even if you do have to discipline someone, even if you do have to defend yourself, you can do it in a way that's in alignment with the core values that you have as an individual. You don't need to be that other, whoever that is that you aren't,
Absolutely. And you know that feeling that you have when you say something to somebody, if you have a conscience, right? There might be some people out there that don't have a conscience, but I think the vast majority of human beings, leaders, they know when they are curt with somebody. They know when they are rude. They know when they are short, and whatever they are trying to convey, they know that it can most likely be done in a different way than how they're feeling. But we know that emotions at times can change our personality. And that goes back to personal development. And how do we deal with those situations when they arise? Not saying that it's a cakewalk. It's something that we have to work on. But how we communicate with other people, families, leaders, coworkers, etc., we know when we are not being ourselves and how that can come across. And a lot of times we'll have that feeling afterwards, after we say it, or after the moment is over.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you can have regret. But I think there's a place where you can remember those moments, and now let's do better the next time. That's part of leadership, right? Sometimes it is a trial and error. You may not get it right the first time, but we all can change, right? We all can get back to the drawing board and say, how can I deal with that the next time in a better way? Especially when we have other people looking at how we react to those situations. Go ahead. You got it. I can see the light bulbs going off on your head.
Because you're saying something, and I want to drop something on the table that's really, really difficult, but it's in alignment with what you just said. And I see it all the time. It happens to me all the time. I may do something that's not in alignment with the person how I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll realize it afterwards. And then the choice comes in. Do I just say, I learned from it? Alex, don't do that. That's not who you are. Or do I make the hard decision to go and apologize to that person? And right, it's hard. It don't always feel good. But if you can be that person, that even if the person was rude, or again, it's not about that person, it's about you. Who are you as a leader? And are you the person who are going to say, you know what, I'm acknowledging that I was wrong in this situation, even though you were wrong too. I'm going to acknowledge my part and apologize. And like you said, people see that, and then they say, okay, this leader, he's at this level, or she's at this level. She's willing to call out when she was wrong and apologize. Again, it's super easy to keep in your mind, I was wrong. I shouldn't do that in the future. It's another thing to come back and actually admit openly, I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that.
That's it.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
So how about, I'd love to know, like, what is a hard truth you had to learn that made you a better executive leader?
Hard truth, Alex. Here it is. You can't do it yourself. Can't do it alone. For many years in my professional life, I have worked and did discipline and worked alone, and cared, as we kind of alluded to before, cared about just my small circle. And I'm talking about grinding and thinking that success in my career was only based on what I could do, how hard I could drive, how much I can generate in revenue, how my performance looked. And I found out that the truth is relationships are worth a whole lot more than discipline at times. You will hit a ceiling in your life, and the truth is discipline and hard work only get you but so far. The true currency is relationships that you build, and having the mindset to help others, the mindset to share with others, also the mindset to know that everything that you might be building and doing, you're going to need other people if you want to go to another level. You're only going to get but so far. And that was a truth that I had to figure out along the way, because when you're doing good, nobody can sometimes tell you anything. right? Because you're doing good and you feel like that is the way and that is but I'm telling you, you will hit a roadblock. You will have an obstacle. You will have something that's going to happen in your life where you're going to need to rely on other people. And so I had to figure out, again, the hard way. I go back to COVID. I go back to changing in a new career to lead people and getting to a place to where, you know what? I got to pour into other people. I have to help other people. And that fuels me more now today than it was before years ago. And that is the one thing I would say I had to learn the hard way.
That is really, really great. I love how you positioned that. And you make me think of a concept that I share with my coaching clients all the time, um, which is this concept of yes and no. This again, it's really weird. Um, see, when you say yes, you're really saying no. And when you say no, you're really saying yes. When you are a successful leader, when you are successful in anything, really, more and more people want to work with you. More and more people want to be with you. They want to partner with you. They want to be in your circle. They want to be in your atmosphere. And there's all these opportunities coming your way. If you say yes to all of them, you are saying no to whatever it is that you said was important to you. Whatever quote unquote priority you thought you had for yourself, if you say yes to everything, there's no time and energy and space and resource for the other thing. So when you say yes, you are actually saying no. And when you say no to all these opportunities, you're actually saying yes to the things that you believe matter the most. Mm-hmm. And this is a tricky idea and concept for people to understand, because it's really easy to feel bad when you're saying no. Mm-hmm. But as you speak, you make me think that you've had to say no to a lot in order to say yes to the things that you've accomplished. And I want to say one last thing. I want to get your perspective on this. The crazy and messed up thing about this is the more success you have, the harder the no's can become. Because they're bigger and bigger opportunities. Yeah. If you got 6 big opportunities, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. But you still can't be successful if you're saying yes to all of them. So you have to then say no to these things that are amazing, but they're still not in alignment with where you're actually going. So I'd like to ask you, is there anything that you had to say no to that you really wanted, but you had to say no to it in order for you to focus your energy and effort and resources in the area where you thought was most important?
Yeah, very good. Whew, that one gets deep, right? I'll put it into the context of working with relationships, right, Alex? And I'm going to set the stage by saying all money isn't good money. Okay. So there are going to be relationships or opportunities that come your way that on the surface sometimes looks good. And I had to learn the hard way that just because you have a relationship that is spitting off dividends and revenue and it's a working relationship from a business standpoint, sometimes we have to preserve our sanity, as well as the things that we're willing to do and things we're not willing to do. And you said it toward the tail end of this question, in that, does it align with who you are? And I just recently had to step away from a working business relationship that sends me business, but how they do business and how I do business and how I care for the people I work for, it doesn't align. I'm a relationship guy. I want us to win. I want it to be a win-win situation. But if I see that the relationship that we're trying to build together doesn't feel like we are working relationships together, and maybe I'm just a vendor to you versus a partner to you, then I have to then look at the situation and say, is this a relationship that I feel like is long term? And I had to come to that realization that for me and my principles, my value, whether it be my time as well as how I deal with my clients, in that particular case, I said, you know what? Yes, it may be a great opportunity for some, but for me, I had to step away. It didn't align with how I felt like people should be treated and how people should go through a process. And therefore, I know, because I have confidence in who I am as a leader, as a businessman, as a speaker, as a mentor, I have enough confidence that there's enough people out there where I don't have to subject myself to this type of relationship. So that would be another thing to kind of tell the people that are viewing this, that you have to have boundaries and you have to have maybe a level of excellence for yourself so that you can differentiate between those that fall within who you are as a leader and as a person and how you want to do business, so you can differentiate. Now, it did take me a while, but again, as a leader, sometimes you're trying to work something out, trying to make sure, is this the best decision? And that would have been something recently where I felt like we didn't align with how to deal with clients. And I felt like that was the best move for my reputation as well.
I thank you so much. I know I got to open the floor for you to share some words as we begin to wrap up. You made me think one more concept, and I'm gonna open for you. The definition. Like, people get these technical definitions of stuff, and I'm thinking, like, so my definition of a good decision, right? All these different definitions of it. My definition of a good decision is that it takes you closer to where you're trying to go. That's it. If the decision takes you closer to where you're trying to go, it's a good decision. If it takes you further away from where you're trying to go, it's a bad decision. And I bring that up because you said a great decision, this could be a wonderful partnership for someone else, but not for me. This decision over here could be an absolutely amazing decision for that person over there in that organization at that time, in that situation, but it's not for me because it's not where I'm trying to go. So I love what you're talking about. Kind sir, what do you like to share with our audience as we begin to wrap up?
Yeah. You know what, Alex, again, thank you. I don't know if I said it in the very beginning, but I definitely want to say this now. Thank you for allowing me the space to talk about myself, to talk about the things I have going on in my career, as well as some of my future endeavors. A couple of points I just wanted to hit on. One of them I wanted to touch on was about mentors and mentorship and how that has changed the course of my whole life. And the second thing is to tie this back to the Banker's Blueprint, which is my framework that I speak from, that I coach on, that I teach on, that I live on myself. But going back to mentors, I had a mentor early on in my life that believed in me, saw something in me that others didn't see. And I was in a period of my life where I was playing it safe. So for those that are listening, sometimes playing it safe will only allow you to get but so far. And this person challenged me. He opened my eyes to a new way of living, and it was investing in real estate. And keep in mind, I've been in real estate up until that time period about 10 years. So I knew what it was like to invest in real estate, but I felt like I was singular focused because I was doing good, but I was just earning the income. I wasn't thinking more long term. And I had a mentor look at me and say, you can do more. You could do something that will change the whole course of your life. And this guy breathed life into me. His name is Ron Walker. He's no longer with us, but we all maybe have those mentors in our life that will come to us at a certain period of our life. And they're going to have to we are going to have to at times open ourselves up to sometimes trying something new. And he helped me to get outside of my comfort zone of feeling just safe, working the 9 to 5, not thinking about later down the road. He changed my mindset. That mentor made me a multimillionaire just by listening to him and him helping me. So mentorship, going back to leaders out there, that is one way you can have an instrumental effect on somebody's life. You don't have to spoon feed them, but for the ones that are ready, for the ones that are yearning for that knowledge, that you can see some good in them, reach over and pour into that person, because they could go and carry the torch that sometimes all the knowledge that we have, they can carry that torch now 100 more years later. So mentors are extremely important. And again, the Banker's Blueprint, again, I love, Alex, that you have blessed me with the opportunity to share a little bit about my story. But that Banker's Blueprint was where after 20 some odd years being in the financial world and corporate America, I went back and was like, how did I do this? What was the foundational principles? And those 6 principles being the gratitude, being disciplined, the way I look at failure, not as something as a setback, but something to learn from, the people, and how important it is to have a network of people that believe in you, accountability partners, relationships, and how we do business with one another, self-care, right? That's a foundational principle. We know so many people in corporate America, man, they might look good on the outside when they go to the office, man, but they're dying on the inside, right? They're not good people. They're not good to their husband, their wife, their children. And so sometimes we have to take care of ourselves so we can be the best version of ourselves. And then that last one, man, being vision. Man, for leaders out there, man, if you don't have a vision where you can look forward, like you can look and see things that other people can't see, that's where everything that is on God's green earth is created, from somebody's vision. When you start reading books like I started doing, you start expanding your mind, man, that we have these visions and we have a way of bringing things to life, and concentrated on those principles have helped me to go out and continue to talk to young people, talk to people in the education industry, and talk to people in corporate America about how did I get here? Here are these foundational principles that you can put to action right now to help you in whatever endeavors that you have.
Dude, thank you so much for sharing everything you've shared today. Thank you for sharing your Banker's Blueprint. Thank you for sharing your stories, your the advice, the failures and challenges that you've had, where you had to say we had to say no for things that were difficult, right? It's easy to say no to things that are easy, right? But when money's in line, you saying, this is not aligned with my values, where I want to be. That's where it really matters. So thank you so much for sharing those stories. Everyone, you know where we're going. Don't just look back, reach back. If you found anything of value in this episode, please click the like button. It costs you literally nothing. And if you would just do that one thing, and even if you like to, you can click the share button. But please, please, please do help push this story out, this message, everything that Brian shared with us today. It doesn't matter if no one heard it, right? So please, please, please do continue to share this. Please continue to engage, share your thoughts in the comment. As always, I encourage you, stay strong, stay positive, and definitely stay moving. See ya. Thanks for listening to The Executive Appeal with Alex Tremble. I invite you to follow The Executive Appeal wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow me, your host, Alex Tremble, across all socials or via email for exclusive webinars, courses, and in speaking engagements on continued topics of executive leadership. So until next time, stay strong, stay positive, and definitely stay moving.